Hey team. So here we're going to study some exponential functions in context, meaning word problems. So we're going to start to apply these to real life a little bit. As you work through these problems, you'll see a couple common situations that exponential functions model, and we are building towards our discussion of kind of financial math and borrowing and lending and interest rates that we opened the unit with. Okay, so here Lincoln's purchased a new car in 2010 for 22,800. So these are probably useful for us. And then the value of the car has been depreciating. That's a good vocabulary term, especially if you intend to go on to study business or fields related to business. Depreciating means losing value, which you could have gotten from context, I think, losing value. So once you buy a car, as soon as you drive it off a lot, it starts to be worth less money, right? The value of the car was $14,100 in 2012, and then we want to know the value of the car in 2014 to the nearest dollar. Okay, so the first thing I want to do, because I already know how to write down functions from 2 points, is I want to rewrite this in terms of 2 points. And we happen to know, well, because it's an exponential functions unit, but because of this idea of depreciating, is that it's going to be modeled by an exponential function. So a car loses value over time, and the further time goes on, the faster it loses value. Okay. So what did I find here? I found 2010. The car is worth 22,800. And then 2012, the car was worth 14,100. So you can already see that's a big old drop. That's like $8,000. You lost off the value of your car right there. And then we want to know 2014. Okay. What we can do, this is the number one trick to make these easier. What we can do is we can rename our years, right? So if we start plugging in 2010 and 2012, it's going to get sort of ugly. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to call 2010 year 1. Actually, let's call it year 0. That'll make it even easier. 2010 is year 0. 2012 then would be year 2. And 2014 would be year 4. Okay? So then if time is our x, and then dollars is our f of x, we end up with 2 points, right? So our points are 0, 22,800, and 2, 14,100. Okay? And then we just do essentially what you did in the last lesson, right? So because this is our 0, 22,800 is our a, right? So I already know that from this first point, I get y equals 22,800 times b to the x. Okay? Just because it's a 0 there. And then I'm going to plug in this second point. So from the second point, I get 14,100 equals 22,800 times b to the 2 now, right? So that's what we're trying to find. And then I divide. So I get b squared is equal to, what do I get? About 0.618 is equal to b squared. And then b is equal to, when I take the square root of both sides or raise both sides to the 1/2 power, b is equal to 0.786. Okay, so my whole model, plugging it all in, I get y is equal to 22,800, so the price of the car, times 0.786 to the x power. Okay. So that b is a measure of how much value the car keeps from year to year, right? So like, we'll get more into this as the lesson goes on, but here we would interpret this as meaning the car loses like 31% of its value per year, because I'm subtracting this as a percentage from 100. Okay. If that didn't quite click, that's okay. Again, we're gonna return to that idea later in the unit. So here is my function, my model. And let's make sure we've answered the question. So as I go back up and reread the question, oh, that's right. I wanted to know the price in 2014. Okay, so I'm going to take my model. Just rewrite up here. So y was equal to 22,800 times 0.786 to the x. Okay, so what that means in 2014, we would have 22,800 times 0.786 to the x, and x, rather, it should be 4, right? Because 2014 is year 4. And when I plug that into my calculator pretty much exactly as I see it, I get y equals $8,720. Okay. And I did do some rounding there because remember it asked me to round to the nearest dollar. So one of the annoying things about internet math is that you have to pay attention to how it asks you to round, or you'll get mercilessly marked wrong, so make sure you're paying attention to that. These, I believe, always give you in terms of a year. So if you rewrite the year, your first year as year 0, they will look exactly like you did in the last lesson. So finding the model is the same, and the only step we're adding is plugging in an additional year. Okay. As always, if you're stuck, come back to the video, watch the Delta Math video, or ask me for help. Otherwise, good luck, and we'll see you next lesson.